my beautiful friends, it's Amanda here, and today we're talking about a brand new ColourPop palette that is currently an Ulta exclusive. This is the Lust for Dusk palette. There are a few other Ulta exclusive ColourPop items that have dropped recently. ColourPop sent this one to me, so I already have it. I ordered the rest of the new stuff, so I will show you that soon. For now, this is the only one I have my little hands on. But there are some new 9-pan palettes, there are some new Super Shock shadows, and there are also a couple of pressed powder blushes from the Limoncello collection that are all Ulta exclusive. So I did order those, hopefully I'll have them soon, but today we are just focusing on the Lust for Dusk palette. Like I said, this is currently available at Ulta. I'm not sure if it will come to the ColourPop site or not for my international friends. Some of the Ulta exclusive stuff makes its way to the actual ColourPop site and some never does. I don't have any insight on when or if that will happen. I'll try my best to find out and I will keep you updated in the description box. This is priced at $24 US. This is a 16-pan palette. It's the same shape and size as the Truly Madly Deeply palette. Or if you're really a ColourPop palette OG, you might remember the Fame and Fortune palettes. Same layout as those. Now, one really important thing that I want to point out for my vegan friends. On the Ulta website, this palette is marked as vegan. This palette is not vegan. I don't know why this keeps happening. I scoured this very teeny tiny print here because they do have the ingredients listed on the packaging, and several of these shades contain carmine, and carmine is not vegan. So this is not a vegan palette. Personally, I'm not vegan. I don't use only vegan products, but I am somebody that really values information just as a reviewer and as a consumer. So I am growing frustrated with a lot of these palettes being marked as vegan when they contain carmine, because it's just simply not the case. I'm sorry, vegan friends, but there's carmine in here. So I don't know. Maybe this is just a mistake on Ulta's part. I'd like to think that that's the case. The outer box and the palette have the exact same artwork, same packaging. The main difference is the back. The outer carton, so the cardboard box that the palette comes in, has an ingredients list and the palette itself does not. That's the main difference on packaging. This palette is a heavy-duty cardboard packaging. It does have a magnetic closure. There is no mirror inside. I think this artwork is very pretty. I love the smoky, moody nature. It fits the theming as far as the names goes. It fits the color scheme for the shadows, which I really like. Before we move in to look at the shadows, I do just want to point out that there is no eye safety warnings. There's no pressed glitters in here. None of these shades are marked as not intended for the eye area. So you know I'm excited to see that. When we take a look inside the palette here, we see 4 rows of 4 or 4 columns of 4, depending on how you look at it. I do think that these make sense laid out in columns. They do make nice little quads. If you look at each column and the way that they're laid out, they seem to work nicely together that way. But of course you can mix and match, you can do whatever you want. The world is your oyster. I also want to point out that I recognize these 2 shades as re-promotes. I know that I have these either as singles or in other palettes or potentially both, but I don't recognize the other shades in here. So I think these are the only 2 repeats, but if I'm wrong on that, please feel free to let me know, because these are the only 2 I recognize, but I do not have every single shadow memorized, so if I'm missing one, definitely let me know. I'll update that info down in the description box. Even though this is mostly a neutral palette, we do have a wide range of undertones and finishes. There are 8 true mattes, 2 mattes with some little micro glitter, and then the remaining 6 shades are shimmers. But among the shimmers, we do have a few different textures going on in these shimmers. This coppery shade called Quiet Storm feels like one of their foiled formulas. They have a really thick, very, very metallic texture. We've seen shades like this in the Milan palette and in the Good as Gold palette. think there are a couple other ones that aren't popping into my brain right now. I know I'm supposed to be an encyclopedia of ColourPop palettes, but those are the two that come to mind for me. There's also this shade Shaken, which doesn't quite feel like a Super Shock, doesn't feel like a foil, but also seems to be a little bit different than their average shimmer powders. I don't know if you can tell by looking at it. This is just filled differently. It doesn't seem to be pressed the same way that the other shimmers are. This one looks like it's filled in the pan, similarly to how Super Shock shadows have been in palettes. Hopefully that makes sense. Maybe it's hard to tell on camera. It does feel softer and squishier. It's not quite that flaky foiliness like the shade Quiet Storm. Maybe it is a Super Shock shadow. It's not indicated anywhere on the palette or the packaging. This just says a pressed powder palette, but that one kind of feels like a Super Shock to me, but I'm not really sure. It's all just conjecture on my part at this point. Now that you have all the info, I want to start showing you some swatches. First, I'm just going to show you swatches of the Lust for Dusk palette, both finger and brush swatches. Just like I always do, all the swatches will be done on the inside of my arm, no primer down first. Finger swatches will be on top, and each corresponding brush swatch will be directly below. For my brush swatches, I'll be using my e.l.f. flat eyeshadow brush, and I'll clean the brush off in between each shade using my Veramona color switch. That way there's no shadow transfer between swatches. So let's take a look at those swatches now. Now that you've seen the palette swatched, I want to show you some comparisons. No matter how many comparisons I do, there's always something that somebody else wanted to see. I always do my best to give you the best comparisons possible. So apologies in advance if your palette is not here. Please don't leave me in comments about it. Thank you so much. Okay, let's get into the comparisons now. Next, I want to show you a quick tutorial using the Lust for Dusk palette. I really try my best to show you all different kinds of swatches, comparisons, and actually the palette in action. I think that can just give you the most possible information about a product. So my tutorials really are meant more for you to see the product in action and not necessarily for the artistry of it all. So let's take a look at this eye look that I'm wearing today, and then I'll wrap up all my thoughts at the end. Overall, I think this is a really cool palette. I know ColourPop has done so many neutrals, not just lately, but definitely lately, and this feels like a fresh take on neutrals. We're getting a mix of finishes and textures. We've got a couple cute little duochromes in here. Miser and Night Lovers are both duochrome shades. We've got some cool tones, some warm tones. We've got a lot of really beautiful matte shades. A pretty decent range as far as light, medium, and deep shades goes. I just think this feels like a really interesting and well-rounded neutral palette. I really hope this is the direction they're going to stick with as far as their neutral releases goes. This feels a little bit more interesting and more unique than a lot of the very neutral heavy palettes that they've been doing lately. Sort of the same way I felt about the Off Melrose palette. I really liked that one and found it to be a unique take on neutrals as well. A neutral palette is never going to be reinventing the wheel, but I at least find this fun and interesting. Formula-wise, this is really, really performing well for me. The mattes are very soft, the shimmers are very bright and metallic. Everything has blended and worn nicely. The only shades that are a little bit more patchy for me are these two here at the bottom, really dark purple and this bluish deep gray shade. They're not quite as solidly opaque as the rest of the mattes in this palette, but that is something that I do expect when it comes to shades like this. And I think especially for the customer base that's going to have access to this palette at Ulta, I think it's nice for these deeper shades to be a little bit more sheer because I do think that makes them more user-friendly. So from my point of view, as somebody who doesn't typically do very, very deep, like rich, deep eye looks, I don't mind that at all, but I do feel like it's worth mentioning for those of you who are looking for a deep, dark, opaque matte shadow. This takes a little bit more work. Overall, I really like it. It's a great little curated bunch of neutrals and easy soft colors. Love the theming, love the packaging. This is one I'm going to continue to reach for. I'm excited for the rest of my Ulta products to come in, so keep an eye out for that video coming soon. Now's the time when I want to hear what you think about this Lust for Dusk palette. Are you interested? Have you already picked it up? I always love to hear what you think about things too, so make sure you leave all your thoughts down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! Okay, I got this. It's fine. Tried to say same shape and size and it came out as shape. Shame shape. Killing it. Let's just go back to where I was still making sense, and then we'll go from there. Or if you're what? I don't even know what that was. Yay for eye safety. I'll just, you know. When did I become a pastel princess is what I want to know. I'm open to it. I never really felt like a pastel girl before. I think the Clarity Cosmetics So Mermazing palette kind of opened up my need for pastels. That and my By Mel Klein earrings that, you know, I always love. So apparently I'm a pastel princess now, and got my Hello Kitty shirt on because I'm an adult. Okay, focus, Amanda, focus. Whew, I need a deep breath and a lip gloss reapplication. Anybody else feel that? Oop, oop, oop. Kinda looks like matching nails. Once you see this swatch, it's not as close, but you know, we can pretend. We can pretend. I don't know who I am, but here I am. I also decided today that I would not only do a shimmery blush, but I was just gonna put my highlighter all over my whole cheek, and I'm here for it. I'm happy about it. Why not? You know, why not? Thanks for watching. I love your face so much. I'll talk to you soon. Okay, alright, I love your face. Bye!